Well, from the business of politics to business proper, running a business, these very interesting times can feel like extreme sports because there's so much contending against your business. So on the show, we've dedicated a segment to talk about ease of doing business so we can take feedback from business owners to government and bring feedback from government to business owners as well. And on the show this morning, we're joined by Mr. Olusegun Okedoye, who is the Managing Director, Mountains Energy Solution Limited, joining us from Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Welcome to the morning brief, Mr. Okedoye. And I'm just going to get right into it. First, help Nigerians understand how easy it is doing business, particularly in your sector as at today.
Thank you, Mr. Kayode and the rest of the team for having me this morning. That's a very good question. How easy it is to do business in Nigeria? I would like to use a paraphrase in the Yoruba parlance that says, the money is in the stomach of the lion. That is the way I would have put how easy it is to do business in Nigeria, because it's bereaved with a lot of challenges, from society to corporate governance to public governance, and the endless is the chain. Carrying on a business in Nigeria require a whole lot of determinations and doggedness to surmount every obstacle that are laid on the way of a businessman in Nigeria. It has not been easy, even though nobody promised it will be easy, and that is why any entrepreneur in Nigeria should be given a kudo for pushing forward, because we are faced with enormous challenges in carrying out lawful activities in Nigerian space. I hope by the course of this program, we will delve into some issues, critical issues affecting business on a daily basis.
Right.
This is not only to be placed particularly in one organs of the government or in one organs of the public as per se, but it cut across every strata of our daily lives in Nigeria.
Right.
From governance to policy to implementation and to the culture of our people.
All right, so Mr. Okedoye, as you're seated there, and I want us to get right into it, this conversation is meant to provide feedback, help people understand what it is that businesses are going through, not to paint anybody bad, but the truth is the truth. And if we want to move forward, we have to begin to lay these cards on the table, and that's why we introduced a segment on the show. So give us the top 5 concerns that you have today as a business owner, seated there. I know it may be more than that, but the top 5 challenges on your mind. I'll begin to look at ways to tackle them.
All right. Thank you. Looking at the top 5 challenges that are facing entrepreneur or business in Nigeria, number 1, I can call it infrastructure. There is a whole lot of infrastructural deficit in the country that is impeding the wheel of progress of a business. Take, for example, energy sector, road networks, internet connectivities, power are inconsistent, and they are creating difficulties for business to operate. If you go on some of the road, except the present government interventions on the road right now, in the recent past, it might be very impossible for you to move from Warri to Benin. The road literally cut into 2. How do you move your goods from Lagos to River State? How do you move from River State to Warri? That's one of the major issues, major problem confronting business. Another one is corruption. In everywhere you go, you part with what you're not supposed to part with. I'm not on this show this morning to lay blame on anybody. We all know it. If you move from Lagos to Warri, to Benin, to get to Lagos, you will see enormous challenges on your way, extorting you right from one spot to another. You are not carrying out illegal things. You are not doing in property, you are just moving your goods. You will part with your money, whether you like it or not. Not only on the road, go to government offices. Even go to public spaces. You put in applications. Your file may not move an inch without you passing a ball. It's one of the major things. We need to tackle it as a people. Access to finance. Access to finance. Where is it? Government is making effort to say, let's get our financial institution right. We have BVN, we have NIN. If you want to access finance from a Nigerian commercial bank today, you will be required to produce things that it will be like practically impossible for you to provide.
All right, Mr. Olusegun, quite a number of things you've listed. But let's come back to the core one, which has to do with energy, which is the space you play in. Now, the energy issue in Nigeria is now a twin issue. Before now, it used to be maybe power was affordable, electricity was affordable to a large extent because it was subsidized, or everybody was subsidized, literally. Every user, consumer was subsidized. Now, some are not, some are partly subsidized, and that has thrown up the prices, and now there's a regularization policy in the works, according to what we heard, that people may be migrated from the lower band to band A, and people are screaming. So there's the issue of unavailability in some part or most part, and there's the issue of cost of electricity. I want you to speak to that as well.
Okay. All right. You have broken it down. While some of us are going into the energy sectors to try to help to solve the problem, we are from FOSI, that is where Nigeria started, and we are talking about renewable, we are talking about energy mix. But this is not available. We need a minimum availability of this energy to grow as a Nigerian, to grow the business, and to also transit. Also, now let me come to your question directly. We are in this system as for Mountains Energy to provide energy solutions for businesses, homes, offices. We know we are of origin oil and gas, and we have seen that to power the power stations that litter all across Nigeria, we need gas. Gas is a bit cleaner than petrol and diesel. Government has deregulated diesel, has deregulated petroleum now, and then it is almost out of the reach of the common man, of a smaller and small businesses. Now, if you take a look at the amounts that's being charged by the electricity board, either EKDC or IBDC, band A, band B, band C, is suffocating business, especially for the startup. If you look at what amount of per kilowatt that's been charged, it may make it businesses that rely on constant supply to be going into extinction gradually. So what we are trying to say here is we need to have an energy mix and then bring it into perspective to have a lower rate that will serve the business community. Maybe government should look at a situation where there will be a business cluster that will subsidize energy for those who are into manufacturing, those who are using the power on a regular, on a 24-hour basis, thereby giving them leverage to breathe and to be able to carry out their business in such a way that it will give them ability to survive. So what the Mountains Energy is coming into the space to do is to hold in one hand the fossil fuel energy, which is our ability to extract our oil and gas and focus primarily also on gas to fire the power stations that are all over this country in order to have efficiency. And then if the efficiency is increased, then there's possibility of reducing the cost of it. Many of these power stations are also facing challenges that the private sector, the smaller businesses are facing, from importations of the equipment that are needed to run that business, from government policies and taxes. This is an holistic thing that the government should look at. But for us in Mountains Energy, we are bringing solutions to mix from fossil fuel to renewable energy. We are researching into bringing down the cost of generating this power for the business community.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you have begun to talk about energy mix and the importation component of it. I'd like us to delve a bit deeper into that space to look at alternatives for businesses and homes, as you've mentioned earlier, which would be solar power. But solar power is not necessarily a cheaper alternative for residents, for residential areas, and for businesses. It is expensive, and you know, there are reports about the tools required for this transition being, you know, bedeviled by the importation of counterfeit variations of it. So who should we be looking at, you know, to regularize that sector, since we're talking about ease of doing business, to ensure that counterfeits are not imported into the country, and in fact to ensure you know, investment in that space for local manufacturing of the tools that we require for the solar power component of transition to cleaner energy?
Very good question. This has to do, the first point of call is from the government to walk the talk. We have heard a lot of policies that said we are going to reduce the cost of importations of these components to make it available in Nigeria, then also transit to producing part of it in Nigeria. Get me right. For the manufacturing system in Nigeria to be optimal, they need the power. And that is why we cannot just jump and forget about our fossil fuel energy optimization. To create that condition for them to set up a company here in Nigeria that can produce these panels and components, the batteries, the lithium. Look at what's happening to our mineral resources. The government needs to walk the talk and demonstrate it in such a way that it will be clear to every one of us that we really mean the business. I go for a specific. If we must make the cost of solar power or clean energy reduce in Nigeria, our importation policy, the custom clearance on those equipment must be reduced. We're giving a concession. And then, if that is done, you will not see people going abroad, going around to import fake products. They are doing this in order to compensate for the cost of it. If we get the policy right, and then we make everyone to do their job. What is the function of SON? We have a SON in Nigeria that practically does sit down in their office, don't even check this thing where it is manufactured and when it is supposed to be imported, and then we complain about importation of fake products. They should have been on the lookout from these companies that are producing this overseas.
And those are very vital points.
Ensure that no one of us is bringing in things that are not up to specification.
Indeed,
so it's a
very
whole
vital
lot of
points there.
A kettle of fish we need to.
And I think that this will form a valuable data for the regulators, some of the government agencies, even the security agencies, as to the state of businesses, at least as a result of their actions, and what we can do better, and the opportunities as well, some of which you have mentioned. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun Okedoye, for sharing practical, real-life instances of what it takes to do business in Nigeria. He's the Managing Director of Mountains Energy Solutions Limited. Thank you for your time. I wish you the very best, Mr. Okedoye.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, why did Bauchi, Kebbi, Katsina, and Kano State shut down schools during this period, and the reactions to it? What is the way forward, really? That's in a moment, so stay with us.